What's going on, everyone? It is me, the Lone Vault Wanderer, just with a video speculating about the future of Fallout, any potential Fallout spin-offs that could be coming out in the short term, or maybe not so short term. And the reason why I'm making this video is because the other night, and I tried to record and it all fucked up, I was really pissed off. So this is my second attempt, but the other night I was thinking about when could we see the next Fallout game, and specifically I was thinking about Fallout 5. Now I know it's a very, very long way away and I shouldn't even be thinking about it right now, but that's not necessarily the point of this video, although it touches some aspects of it. The question for today's video is, if another developer were to work on Fallout, aside from Obsidian, who would you want that developer to be? Let me know in the comments below. So, if we have a look at the release schedule for Bethesda Game Studios games, we have Fallout 3, released back in 2008, I believe it was late October. And then we had Elder Scrolls Skyrim, of course, which was released in 2011. And then we had Fallout 4 released in 2015 in November. So if we exclude Skyrim for a second, we have about 7 years between the release of Fallout 3 and Fallout 4. Now, of course, as Fallout fans, we had Fallout New Vegas to kind of tickle our fancy for the time being and to tide us over. And Fallout New Vegas was released about 2 years after the release of Fallout 3. It was about 2010. So it wasn't necessarily this really long wait until we got the next Fallout game. It was pretty quick turnaround, to be honest, and some people really liked Fallout New Vegas because arguably took the game a little bit more back to its roots in the form of the original Fallouts, and some other people didn't like it, but that's okay. You know, it was a good game. I really enjoyed it. I did a couple of playthroughs, but regardless, the point that I'm trying to make is that us as Fallout fans at that stage during those years didn't have to wait long for another Fallout game because we had New Vegas, because Bethesda licensed the Fallout franchise to a third-party developer. Now we're in a very similar situation. Just like we were in the same situation after the release of Fallout 3 and all the DLC were done, right now Fallout 4 is done and all of the main support for the game is completely finished. And now as Fallout fans, we're looking to the future. Of course, Bethesda Game Studios has a number of different things on their plate before even Elder Scrolls 6, let alone Fallout 5. But as Fallout fans, and not necessarily Skyrim fans, although they overlap to some extent, but as Fallout fans, we are looking to see, alright, what's the next game? What's potentially going to be the next game? And when could it be released? And I think there's a number of things that we need to bear in mind here. Let's just assume, for the time being, that Bethesda is not going to license the Fallout franchise to any other third-party studio. Let's just say that Bethesda Game Studios is going to be keeping the Fallout franchise close to their chest and not giving it away to anyone else. So again, we had 7 years between the releases of Fallout 3 and Fallout 4. And those are the games that Bethesda Game Studios on. We'll exclude Obsidian and New Vegas now, just for the sake of analysis. So right now, Bethesda Game Studios is working on 2 other major projects. We need to bear in mind, though, that they have expanded. There is another BGS studio in Montreal, so they probably are working on these 2 other major projects simultaneously or concurrently, so we do need to bear that in mind. So even if we combine those 2 major projects into one super project, because there are 2 studios working on them, there is still that one major super project before Elder Scrolls 6 is even going to be developed. And we had about 4 years from the release of Skyrim to the release of Fallout 4. So even starting from the standpoint of Fallout 4 released in 2015, it's probably going to be about 4 years until we see the release of one of these major projects, and maybe 3 years until we start hearing about it. So that'll be the year 2019. And then 4 years after that, we might see the release, or probably would see the release, of the Elder Scrolls 6. So that would be the year 2023. And then going from there, assuming that Bethesda straight after Elder Scrolls 6 is moving on to Fallout, which it might not do, I mean, who knows, but assuming that it was, 4 years from the year 2023 would be the year 2027. And it is 2016 right now. So even taking very, very underestimated assumptions here, assuming that those 2 major projects are being worked on concurrently, assuming that Bethesda Game Studios is moving straight from Elder Scrolls 6 to Fallout 5, it'll probably be, at the very least, a decade, 10 years, until we hear anything about Fallout 5, and let alone see the game actually released. And again, that's probably a vast underestimate. It's probably going to be longer than that. It could be 11, 12, 13 years. Who really knows at this stage? So, as Fallout fans, imagine if we didn't have New Vegas. Imagine between the release of Fallout 3 and Fallout 4, we did not have New Vegas. We would have been waiting 7 years. And even then, even after the release of New Vegas, Fallout fans were still itching for another Fallout game. We thought it had been ages, and it had been. I mean, from 2010, from the time that New Vegas was released, to Fallout 4 was 5 years. Now, of course, there are modding communities, and they keep, the game alive, essentially. But even just looking at the base games themselves, we had 5 years to wait from New Vegas to Fallout 4, and then from Fallout 3, it was 7 years. So just imagine that us as Fallout fans had to wait over a decade for another Fallout game. Even with mod support, even with a thriving modding community, that is a very, very long time to wait. And hence the point of this video. I believe, strongly believe, that Bethesda Game Studios needs to license the Fallout franchise to another third-party developer, similar with what they did to New Vegas. Now, of course, the first developer that would come up in that regard is Obsidian. They did a great job with New Vegas, and I'm sure many fans, and yes, I know that there are hardcore New Vegas and Obsidian fans out there, I see you in the comments, but I'm sure even fans broader than that would be very happy for Obsidian to take the reins again. But at the very least, I do believe that us as Fallout fans, just as fans of the franchise, and not trying to act possessively, not trying to be demanding or trying to act entitled or anything like that, but just being fans of the Fallout franchise, I think we all really want Bethesda to let another developer work on a Fallout game so we get something before Fallout 5. And this is not because I think BGS is shit with the Fallout franchise and they've done a terrible job and Obsidian should be the only studio to work on Fallout. I don't believe any of that bullshit. To be honest, what I believe strongly in is alternation. And what I mean by that is that one studio should not be working on the same franchise again and again and again and again and again, because that leads to developers being burnt out. That leads to games that decline in quality over time, and we've seen it with Assassin's Creed, for example. I used to be a huge fan of that, and presumably a lot of the developers that were involved in the development of that game continuously worked on Assassin's Creed. And that's why they've taken the time off to say, you know what, everyone needs to take a break, we need to reconsolidate. And that's why I'm a strong proponent of developers not working on the same franchise or the same games again and again and again without switching it up, without mixing it up. And that's why I think it's very good for what Bethesda did in the past, or Bethesda Game Studios rather, when they alternated or changed between Elder Scrolls and Fallout and Elder Scrolls and Fallout. It let the developers take a break from those respective franchises. It would have helped ensure that they didn't get burnt out with any one of those franchises. And I definitely think that that has a lot of positive benefits. But by the same token, I also don't believe that Obsidian should just be working on the Fallout franchise, again because they don't want to be burnt out, they want to mix it up and diversify and keep their minds fresh with different franchises. However, in terms of ensuring that Fallout games are released at a steady rate, or a somewhat steady rate, not once every 7 years or once every decade as it could be if BGS held onto the Fallout franchise, we can't just have one studio that alternates between different franchises and alternates between developing different games, hold onto that one franchise, hold on to developing Fallout. Whether it's Bethesda Game Studios or whether it's Obsidian, I am a strong believer in that. And that's why I think with regards to the Fallout franchise, there should be two different studios working on it. There should be Bethesda Game Studios doing the main Fallout games, Fallout 3, Fallout 4, Fallout 5, Fallout 6, and there should be another developer to chip into the years where BGS is working on other projects to help them diversify. There should be another developer that also work on Fallout games in the form of Fallout spin-offs, like New Vegas was. Some people don't think that New Vegas was a spin-off. I don't care. In terms of the main consecutive timeline of Fallout games, New Vegas was technically a spin-off. So I would definitely like to see Bethesda license the Fallout franchise out, because a decade is just way too long to wait. And as Fallout fans, I feel like we need another Fallout game to tide us over in the meantime until Fallout 5. And I do think that that developer should be Obsidian. But as always, I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Let me know what you think. And until next time, this has been the Lone Vault Wanderer. Please take care of yourself, and would you kindly keep fighting the good fight.